Hello, Susan here. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I am here to share with you some of the brand new product from our beautiful new Stampin' Up! Catalog that was just released on June the 3rd. If you do not already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and would like to have one of these catalogs, please contact me. You can contact me via the comments below and I will get back in touch with you and get you a catalog right away. They are absolutely stunning catalogs, and they are not just product catalogs, but they are filled with lots and lots and lots of creative ideas. I'm going to show you a few of those things today. What today is actually is kind of a mini version of the Zoom event that I did over the weekend. We had some serious technical difficulties, and quite a few people were unable to log in and watch the Zoom event that I did on Saturday. It was a full 3-hour event, and we did a lot of fun different things. So I am breaking that down into multiple days. So this week, every day or most days, I am going to try to bring these to you. I know I haven't done a video for a while. I've had some technical issues that we had to work through, and I'm very much hoping that those things are resolved at this point. Okay, so first I want to give you a little mini tour of the catalog. I always like to do that at the beginning of my annual events. If you open your catalog to page 1, you are going to see that they have grouped the different categories of products: all occasion, love, thanks, support, kids, baby, birthday, artistic expression. And they have put them into suites for you. And what a suite is, it's a group of products that all coordinate and all go together. If you want to purchase a suite, you can get everything in that suite with just one item number, which makes it really easy to say, oh, I love everything there, and make sure you don't forget anything. If you don't want everything in the suite, you can pick and choose and item order each thing individually as well. So what I'm going to do for you today is I'm going to show you some of those suites and some of the papers and the stamps and the products and the elements that come with the suites. And then I am also going to demonstrate a few cards for you as well. Now, if you go to page 140 in your catalog, it's going to begin to show you all the extra accessories. It's going to show you paper and ink and ribbons and buttons and brads and doodads, etc. Okay, if you turn to page 3, you are going to see that Stampin' Up! Is also giving you little instructions throughout the catalog. If you go to page 227, it's going to teach you how to do two-step stamping. If you go to page 78, it's going to talk to you about stamping off. So these are some really nice ways to get a little bit of an education, especially if you are a beginning stamper. For beginning stampers, I know that this great big catalog can be kind of overwhelming, but if you break it down into little pieces, it is so much easier to manage. Now, up here it talks about stamps. We do have 2 different types of stamps. We have cling stamps, which are like this. They're a red rubber, but they stick to the blocks really well because they have a very sticky surface. And we have photopolymer stamps, which, get this on up here, look like this. And they are crystal clear. Yes, mine is a little stained, but I don't know, it makes it easier for me to see where it goes. But you can see, here's one that's not stained yet. But you can see exactly where you're positioning your stamp. Those actually are my favorite. You can see so clearly, and they stamp just gorgeous images. I really like those. I'm going to do some of those today for you. Page 4 takes you into seeing all of our colors and how our colors coordinate together in harmony. It also tells you that you can find punches beginning on page 165 and dies beginning on page 173. If we continue on, the next couple pages show you kits. If you are a beginning stamper, I highly recommend this is where you start. Kits are wonderful. They have everything cut and scored for you. Things are die cut, ready to just punch out and assemble. And some of them are going to include directions. Your paper pumpkin over here is one of those kits that is an ongoing thing, and you have it mails directly to your door. It shows up in your mailbox once a month, and it comes complete with everything you need to create the projects, including stamps and ink. The only thing you're going to have to supply is adhesive or scissors. In most cases, everything is already die cut for you, so all you do is punch out and stick it on there. And it also includes more product than you need to make the specified projects in there. So you're going to finish everything that it tells you to make in there, and then you're going to have all kinds of leftovers to add to additional cards. Some of our kits are called all-inclusive, like Simply Citrus here. You can see that. It means it's including the stamps that come with it. It's going to include everything you see in the picture on the page, okay? Other stamp sets are not all-inclusive. This isn't Gorgeous Posies is a project kit, and it's going to say it doesn't include the ink and stamps, but these are ones we suggest that would go well with it. So make sure you're carefully reading the description of the kit and not saying, oh, well, I thought I was going to get the stamps with it or the ink or whatever. Boho Indigo on page 9 is what we call a product medley. It's sort of like a giant jumbo kit. It includes all of these other things that coordinate, even ribbon. I mean, it's giving you everything to put it together. It's not going to give you ink, but it is going to include stamps, designer paper, ribbon, dies, and embellishments, things that you pop out that are just sentiments ready to put on. It also includes a refill kit here. So this is a really nice offering too. You'll see there's a bright N there as you're going through the catalog. If you see that bright N, that means that the item is new. If you see right here, like the little blue starburst that says 10% off, that indicates that it's a bundle item. And sometimes that can be kind of hard to see when you're looking at all the stamps and images on the paper. But a bundle is going to be either stamps and dies or stamps and a punch. And anytime you get those things together, you're going to get a 10% discount. You can, of course, purchase them individually. There's nothing wrong with that. But I find that most of my customers, once they purchase them individually and they say, oh no, I didn't want them both, they come back to me a month or two later and say, okay, now I want the dies or the punch that goes with it. So I highly encourage you to consider getting the deal. Go ahead and take both. They coordinate together and you're going to get a discount. And it's always nice to save money, right? Okay, so these are suites that the catalog then features. And if you notice, and I don't know if you're going to see it on the camera or not, but there's going to be a little color code tab and the word all occasion. So that means everything with that tab of that color, which I believe is Bumblebee, is all occasion. When the color switches, it's now love, thanks, and support. So you can actually flip through the side of your catalog and see the different colors and what they are. Accessories and more. Here is gray. Okay, so that's helpful as you're going through your catalog. Again, you can note, okay, this stamp set, Ornate Style, it's got a bright red N. It means it's a new product. But Snowman Season does not have an N there because this premiered in last year's catalog. Actually, I believe it was in the mini catalog at Christmas time. Same here, Itty Bitty Christmas. They have done a really nice job of bringing back quite a few of these stamp sets, that especially the ones that have these great greetings or these darling images. I'm really happy that they did that because we can now use those again for another season. It's kind of hard on us as demonstrators when they don't bring things back and we're like, ah, I bought this and I was all ready to do a class and then it didn't happen. And that has happened to me more than once, trust me. So it's really nice to know that some of those things are returning. As you flip towards the back of the catalog, beginning here, take a sip. And what that means is go back to basics, stamps, paper, and ink. Okay? If you're brand new and you're like, I'm not sure where to begin, you can pick I recommend a kit. Or if you say, ooh, I love that stamp set. What do I need to do to make these cards? So you're going to get the stamp set, you're going to get the paper, the color that you want, and the ink that goes with it. You can also choose to get markers or watercolor pencils. There are a variety of coloring tools that we have available for you. At the beginning here on page 140, where all the colors and the accessories begin, it tells you cardstock begins on 142, ink pads on 142, and actually those are all coordinated together. Watercolor pencils on 144, ribbons and trim 160. So it's very easy for you to navigate through the catalog and find whatever it is you're looking for. If you're not looking for anything special, I recommend going through page by page and just oohing and eyeing and enjoying what you see on each page. Pages 142 and 143 show you all of our colors and everything together. And I don't know if, I'm sure the camera's not going to get it all in there together, but I'm kind of moving the catalog for you. We have 4 collections: brights, neutrals, regals, and subtles. And then we also have a basics collection, which is going to give you your black, white, and vanilla cardstock. We also feature in-color collections. Every year, 5 new colors that are trendy in fashion and crafts and design are introduced to our catalog, and they get to stay in the catalog for 2 years. And they will have coordinated with them paper, ink, ribbon, embellishments, etc. Even markers in some cases. Most cases, there's some sort of marker that goes with them. Every 2 years, as a new one comes in, the one that's already 2 years old goes away. So there's always 2 sets. This year's 2020 to 2022 is featured right here. 2019 to 21 are these, and they will be going away at the end of this catalog. This guy's going to move over, and we're going to get a whole new set of 5 great colors. I really love using those colors. I know some people hesitate because they say, oh, they're going to be gone in 2 years and then I won't be able to use them anymore. But you know what? You can get extra paper, you can get ink refills, and you can be set for a really long time to continue using those. In addition, you can mix and match with our core colors: brights, neutrals, regals, subtles, etc. And you can get some really nice combinations when you mix and match those. Also, if you just stick to the basic core colors, sometimes you're going to pick your favorite colors. Most of us do that. And then we kind of get stuck in a rut. We always use the same colors over and over and over. When you intermingle the brand new in colors, then that kind of helps bump up your game, I guess, and it kind of sparks your creativity. So I do very much recommend the new in colors. On page 144, it shows you bundles and assortments that you can get. So there's quite a variety of things you can get here: watercolor pencils, regular markers, inks, papers, ink refill, and organization starts on page 145. So we've got these wonderful little desk organizers. So if you are a crafter who likes to work on your desk and have everything right there nice and neat at your fingertips, this is a perfect solution. You can buy them in individual elements and mix and match and stack them however works best for you. Moving to page 146, we're going to come across more coloring tools, different ways to color things, different things to emboss, lots of different little elements. And I'm not going to go through every one with you today, but I just want to point out that's where you're going to find them. And our designer series paper starts on 148. These are all brand new every year, which makes everything always fresh and wonderful, and the colors coordinate with whatever current colors are within our catalog. I have several of these, and I am going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek and show you what some of them look like throughout my videos for this week coming up. Okay, paper trimmers. So now we are in cutting tools. So this is a wonderful trimmer that we have here that gives you crisp, clean, straight lines. We have our Simply Scored tool, which is perfect for making multiple score lines on a project. We have packaging items, boxes and bags, specialty elements. I am going to show you this. Actually, this is a good time to show you right now. These laser cut images that you see there are absolutely gorgeous. Here's one that I have punched out. Look how absolutely beautiful that is. And you can just stick that right onto your cardstock. The backside is white. If you really wanted it to be white, you could do that. Okay. And it comes with, as you can see, various elements. These are like full card fronts that you can use. You can put this on and stamp your sentiment in the middle. You can layer things on top. These elements, all different shapes and sizes, are beautiful. I got a little glue on that. If you get a little glue on any kind of foil, if you take something like a wet one, an alcohol wipe, you can usually clean it off. You can mess with your finger like this and get some of it off. But a tiny bit of alcohol will help clean that. You have to be careful not to saturate it, but it's kind of a pain if you get glue on these shiny surfaces. But these are absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous elements for using with your cards. And they are called Forever Gold Laser Cut Specialty Paper. And it's $15. And you get 6 sheets of these elements. So really, really a nice buy there if you want to add some bling to your products. Page 153, we continue on with basic papers, foils, glimmery paper, even velvet paper this year. And then we also have some scrapbooking products in our Memories and More kits. And you can see these here. You can actually buy the albums. You can buy the sheets where you can just drop down and drop the elements inside there. We have lots of bling, rhinestones and shapes and buttons and corners, just endless embellishments and bling. Just wonderful stuff there. These are basic tools. Your take your pick tool. Comes with 2 putty ends, which are perfect for picking up rhinestones. It looks like this, and you can just pick up things that are hard to pick up. And then it comes with a piercing end and a spatula end, which are great for poking holes or lifting rhinestones or things like that to put on. And then it also comes with these embossing tool ends. There's a fine tip one and a wide tip one. You can buy refills for the putties, but it comes with all of this to start with. So it even has an attachment that has a little brush for knocking. You can see here they're knocking all the little pieces out of that die cut image. Ribbons, they all coordinate and blend with all of our colors. Adhesives, we've got some brand new adhesives this year called Stamp and Seal and Stamp and Seal Plus that are tape runner type adhesives. And then other elements here, we have clear blocks, we have cleaning pads, we have grid paper. I live by my grid paper. I can't stamp without it. And then we have our Stamparatus, and this is a fabulous tool, and I will be using that, I think, sometime this week. I'm trying to remember what I used it on, actually. And, oh, I know what I used it on. One of the flower sets. I made a really, really neat layers of flowers. And then our punches begin here. And our new Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine. It is in the catalog, but it is not ready for purchase as of yet. We do not actually have them in the warehouse. But they tell us soon. Soon is a very vague term, so we don't know exactly what soon means. But in my mind, I take it to mean within 2 or 3 months. That's my idea of soon. It also has done a terrific job this year in the catalog of organizing things. These are punch bundles. So it shows you here, this is the punch, and this is the stamp set, and you bundle them together, get 10% off, and this is the item number. It'll also tell you what page to find the actual stamp set on if you need to confirm, okay, which stamp set was that again? So there are 8 different punch bundles in the catalog. And then we also have die bundles that are featured here for us. And there are 26 brand new die bundles, which is, I want to say, probably a record. I actually used to keep track of how many were in each catalog. And I've kind of lost my past notes for that. But you can see here all of the wonderful options that you have for bundles. And then it goes on and shows you other dies that are not necessarily bundled specifically with anything. And embossing folders. So your 3D embossing folders are in this lighter color. And the darker color here shows that it fits in our little mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Yes, there are two. There's a full-size one and a mini, which makes it really nice for carrying places with you if you're very mobile with your stamping. And most of them you're going to find are this light color, and they are 3D. The Woodland is not a 3D. It is a return. It is a longtime favorite, so I'm very much hoping it lasts for many, many more years. But 3D gives you a very, very deep, rich image when you emboss that item. And then there's also a stamp set index and an accessories index. So if you're looking for something specific like scissors, paper snips, we call them paper snips, you can find right here, paper snips, page 159. Okay, if you're looking for ribbons or dimensionals, whatever you're looking for, they make it really easy for you to find it. Again, if you don't have a catalog and you would like to have one, please let me know. You can leave me a comment, you can message me, and I will be happy to make sure that you get one of those. All right, so I am going to, the focus that I feature every year is the new in colors. They are always my favorite, and this year we had to do a virtual event, but I still made in colors my focus. So these are the 5 brand new in colors. We have Cinnamon Cider, Just Jade, Bumblebee, Marvelous Magenta, and Moonlight Madness. And yes, I think they get very creative with their names. I really like that they do that. It's kind of fun. I love the year when they were all food. It made me hungry every time I looked at them. These are enamel dots that coordinate with them. And I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not, but the center of them, they reflect light such that they actually look like it's a glowing light bulb in there. So I don't know if you can see that. My guess, chances are not, but these are absolutely wonderful, beautiful items. And I have used them in several of my cards that I have done already. They also have in color designer series paper. Every year they change the patterns, and of course we get the new colors. And this is a little sampler to show you these are the colors: Cinnamon Cider, Just Jade, Bumblebee, and then we're going to flip it over and we're going to get Misty Moonlight and Magenta Madness. And these are the cardstock colors, obviously, that coordinate with. Okay, so I've shown you that. Now, normally I like to make the same card with each color. Well, this year I challenged myself to something different. Instead, I took pieces of the designer paper that were laying on my table, and I challenged myself to make something using that exact piece without cutting it at all, or maybe trimming it just slightly, but sticking with that particular shape and size. So this is what I made with the wood grain. This is my Cinnamon Cider card, Just Thinking of You, and that is embossed. And these elements, I'm hoping you can see the detail. It not only cuts this leaf out, but it also pops up the center in a really neat embossed image. These are the enamel dots that match and the ribbon. And yes, of course there's ribbon that matches. And then this is my inside. So this was another leftover piece, so I used it to help decorate my inside. Now those dies, the little leaves come from Forever Flourishing, and I found that I did need to use a shim. I have a big shot that is 20 years old, and I do think it's starting to wear a little bit. So I needed a little extra pressure in order to get that embossed section to show up. This is the green, which is our Just Jade. And this designer paper, and I'm quite sure you're not going to be able to read it, but it says to love what we do and share what we love. This is Stampin' Up! Statement of the Heart, and we add on to love what we do and share what we love. In this, we make a difference. So this is printed in multiple languages as a lovely shout out to all of the international Stampin' Up! Demonstrators that we have. We are all over the world now. So I used sentiments from one of our brand new bundles to create this card. And then the next color is Bumblebee. And these cards have card fronts of designer paper because there's some cat fur on there, yay. Because that's what I had sitting there. I had this element sitting there from another project, so I decided, oh, well, let's just add it on and put some Wink of Stella. Here are my enamel dots. And then I finished off the inside again with another scrap. And you can see these are all the different patterns. Now this scrap was a square. And I'm like, okay, so now I have to make this square feature into my rectangle card. So this is how I did that. I added a little white layer and then just stamped my sentiment. It was a little blah, so I thought that it needed some rhinestones to go with it. And this is how I finished the inside. One more. And this one is the Misty Moonlight. This one I think is the most creative. I had these little strips and I'm like, okay, I have to do something with them, but I really needed them to pop and they were not quite wide enough to fit the card front. So I added Bumblebee paper behind it. This sunflower was an element that was sitting on my table that I had cut out and not used. So I used that. And then this is the center and I actually stamped I stamped on crumb cake cardstock using soft suede ink, and then I took the whole thing and I just dipped it into a Versamark ink pad, dumped clear embossing powder over it, and made it shiny so that it had a little depth. And I don't know if the camera's gonna pick up the shine or not, but it really, really does look cool. There was a little scrap of paper sitting here that I stamped the sentiment on with Versamark and embossed in white. And again, I added a little bumblebee enamel dot. Now, the sentiments here, know that I love and care about you. I think these came from 2 different sets, but I'm actually not sure. I made notes here. Yes, Comfort and Hope is the one on the inside. Know that I love you came from Comfort and Hope. And this one came from Lovely You. So yes, I tried to put posties on the back of all of these things so that I could remember everything I'd done because, well, that can be kind of hard sometimes. All right, so the next suite I want to show you is the World of Good. So this is the specialty paper sampler that I have made to show you. And this showcases all of the different papers. And we have gold or brass. I actually think it's brass. It is. This is a new color we have this year, a new foil. It's brass. And it is different from gold and it's different from copper. So it's a really neat look. And we have all of these different elements. Now when you look at the whole sheet of paper, you think that, oh, that's just nice spongy images. That's actually North and South America. This has actually the constellations. These maps, this particular one here is showing you the Bering Sea, but they actually have everything on it from the map. So you can find your city on the map. It was kind of cool. I was like, oh, look, here's St. Louis. That's as close as you're going to get because I'm in O'Fallon, and they're definitely not going to have O'Fallon on the map. But it's really neat the way they have put the detail into these things. Okay, and these are the papers that go with it, the colors that coordinate. All right, and then the stamp set is called Beautiful World, and these are all the gorgeous images. I have already used these sentiments in multiple cards. I absolutely love them. There's an embossing folder that looks like this. It's called Old World Paper, and this is one of those really nice thick 3Ds. And to show you what it actually looks like, here I embossed a piece of cinnamon cider, and I actually think it kind of looks like a piece of leather. So that makes a cool background. And here I used some gold foil just to see how it would look. Now the gold foil is only one-sided, But if you wanted to, this is actually considered the front, you could flip it over and use this side as your top. And you've got kind of the bumps up. So this is debossed and this is embossed where it pops up. So this, I love that. I've already used it multiple times. These are the dies that go with it, and they cut out, you're going to cut out globes. You have your globe stands. You have a solid circle to cut around the globe. You have a quill and an inkwell and some scrolls, and this cool piece, I haven't used it yet, but I have seen samples. It makes a grate. It looks like a grate. It looks like an open grate where you have the globe sitting on it or something. It's really, really cool looking. This one, I cut it out. I embossed it for you, and I don't know what happened to the piece. But you look at it and you think, okay, I can't read it. I can't figure out what it says. It is actually an old world ledger, and they are latitude and longitude positions in an old script. So if you look very closely, you can read that. This bundle, or this whole suite that you can purchase with one number, also includes these wonderful slides and corners. And this ribbon, it's called faux suede. It actually feels like I'm holding a piece of suede leather in my hand. It actually does. And the little slides, you can use either side, but you can just run your ribbon through like this. Ta-da! And make a really, really cute element. I kind of see a Santa belt buckle in my future. Kind of see that. So this also makes a lovely ribbon, a lovely bow, I mean, out of this ribbon. And here's a couple of cards that I made just to show you how beautiful they come out. This uses the new brass foil, layered with black layered on top. This is that new embossing folder. And what I did was I actually put crumb cake ink inside the folder. And then when it came out, I sponged more crumb cake on it. And then to darken things around the edges, I added soft suede. And then this is my inside. Again, I worked really hard with some crumb cake and soft suede to antique this paper. And then we have the quill and the inkwell on the inside. And the other card I made showcases some of the designer paper and some of these cute little corner elements. And this is the globe on a tall stand. And here I have the copper or the brass foil on top of the black cardstock. The only thing I would do differently if I were to do it again is I would use black StazOn to stamp this because it's a little bit darker black and I think it would pop more. And then again, I sponged inside on the cardstock to give it a very soft, old world-y feel. All right. I have one more that I want to feature for you today. And I'm actually going to feature two stamp sets combined to create this project. And then I'm going to make the card for you. So this is the stamp set Blossoms in Bloom. And it does come with some marvelous dies and some really nice everyday sentiments. And you've got this beautiful detail die. You have got tiny flowers. You've got a thicker layer and a fine layer. And then when you turn the page, you have more. And these all layer right on top of each other to create a stunning effect. I'm going to show you what I did with that here in a second. So I'm going to move these out of the way. And this card I did just using the fine outline. And I just stuck it right down to my black cardstock. And I put a little wink of Stella in the centers, but I kept it really simple. And some of those bumblebee enamel dots. And the sentiment here, cat fur. Kitties like to help. Sentiment was embossed with white embossing powder. And then miles apart, but still in my heart. And this comes from the Lovely You stamp set, is where this one came from. And this piece here, it's what I cut off of this. So I actually used the whole thing, just, you know, in different places. Okay, this one I find to be super stunning. There's no stamping on this at all. And what I've done is I've cut out these images multiple times, and then I've stuck them together like a puzzle piece. So the base of this is, I believe, the pumpkin pie. And then I used Mary Merlot. I cut it out again, and I made sure that all the pieces didn't fall out. I kind of kept them together so I could pick them up one at a time and glue them in. And then I did the same thing with the leaves, and then just tied the Just Jade bow on it. Now, I don't know how much detail the camera's going to pick up, but I used this wonderful textile embossing folder to give it just a little more something. I'm hoping you can see that through the lens. I didn't finish this one on the inside. And this actually was the very first one I did. This was my very first playing experiment. And to do this, I stamped this image on the cardstock, and then I used my Stamparatus tool to then lay the stamp for the next layer on top of it, so it was a perfect match. Closed the lid, opened it up, and then I die cut these pieces, went ahead and stuck them down, and then inked up in Gorgeous Grape and stamped on top of it again. So I've actually die cut this second layer, and then I stamped on it after it was glued down. And I could do that because I could use my Stamparatus to perfectly line up where I wanted it to go. I used marker to change the color of these. And then my top layer here is just Whisper White, and I markered the centers. And of course I had to add some Wink of Stella. I'm hoping you can see that. Usually you can't see it too well. So I'm going to try to tip it for you so you can see it. And then the sentiment, and no inside on that one either. I'm going to use this die here in just a second. So this is the fourth card that I made with it. And I did use that embossing folder here to create a really neat texture. And then this is the inside of my card. And I brought that texture to the inside as well. And I am going to show you that now. Although, you know what? I forgot to get that embossing folder out, so I have to find it on my table here. It is here somewhere. Oh, where did it go? That is a good question. My son and I reorganized everything here after Saturday's event. I just have to figure out where that embossing folder went. Oh no. Oh, here it is. Good. Okay, I did put it in front of me. All right, so in order to make this card, I've done a lot of layering. I was not skimpy on my layering by any means. So my card base here is Gorgeous Grape, and it's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I do like to make the score line, and when you make it, you have one side that's, we call it a valley, it's a divot, and the other is a raised bump, and we call that the mountain. You always want to fold into the mountain. Do the exact opposite that you think your brain is going to tell you to do. And then use your bone folder to burnish those score lines. And if you do it so that this part where it starts to angle touches, you don't get that unattractive shiny line on there. And it always helps to do that because it's much easier to work with cardstock that's laying down flat than something that keeps popping up at you. That's kind of a pain for sure. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to layer my cardstock. This is Highland Heather cardstock on top of here. It's going to just glue down flat, and I just cut it 1/8 of an inch smaller than the card front. So the card front is 5.5 by 4 1/4. So this is just cut down 1/8, which on your paper cutter is just 2 tiny little lines. All right, and I went ahead and did the sentiment just so that you didn't have to watch too much Big Shot because it makes the whole table shake, and I know the camera shakes too. So the sentiments from this came out of Comfort and Hope. I'm going to use Sometimes There Are No Words, Sending You a Paper Hug. So I'm going to use those today. This was actually a free stamp set I got from Stampin' Up! As part of a sort of the contest that I participated in January and February. So for anybody who bought the Poppy bundle from me during that time, thank you very much, because you did that. I was able to get that stamp set so that I can show these to you. All right, so now I want to stamp on the front of my card. So this is my stamp, and I'm going to see how I line this up here. I want to try to do it exactly like the sample if I can. Usually I don't get an exact copy. So we're going to ink with Highland Heather, and this is the base ink. So normally you'd think, oh, well, you have to layer everything onto it. Not necessarily. You get a really cool watercolor effect doing this. I do want to make sure I'm well inked and don't have lines from my ink pad. And then I use my grid paper to line things up. This is the hardest block for me to use. It is so big, it's kind of heavy and kind of awkward. Okay, I'm going to give it a good solid press. Again, you could use your Stamparatus here if you have a hard time, you know, getting a solid image. I don't think I'm going to have a problem here, especially because it's a watercolor type look. So, you know, if I'm not perfect in every spot, it won't matter. Oh, I really wasn't perfect. Well, that stinks, doodles. Let's see if I can, because it's photopolymer, go right over the top there. Another way you can prevent this is by stamping on a softer surface, like putting your catalog under you or your Stampin' Pierce mat. That's better. Not perfect down here, but better. But I think it'll be covered anyway, so I don't think it's going to matter. Okay, next I am going to do my little Daffodil Delight flowers. And these two, I did a sample of this Saturday, and obviously my flowers weren't the same because I didn't really try that hard, but I'm going to try harder now to make them look the same. Let's see, this one. And we're going to put one here. And that one kind of bugs me because it didn't line up too well now, did it? What are the chances that I can line this up perfectly? I'm going to try. Close. Not perfect, but close. Okay, center of my flowers. Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to, notice this is not a circle. It is kind of a messed up oval is what it is. So you have to turn your paper to get that image just the way you want it. And I'm not worried about that because I'm going to cover, the ribbon's going to cover that up for me. Okay. So while I have this out, I kind of think I want to go ahead and do my inside. And my inside is stamped with Gorgeous Grape here. Looks like this. And it's going to say, sending you a paper hug. Oh, nice. I got ink on it. Not quite sure where that came from, but it did. All right, so I'm going to use my grid paper to make sure this is straight. And you notice I just flipped it over. I could have messed with it and tried to cover it, but it's easy enough just to flip it over at this point. And then I'm going to add my flower like this. Let's ink it all up. See, I don't think I got it all inked up last time. I think that was my problem. One there. Shoot, I keep getting ink and it's on me somewhere. So I actually have a little sand eraser that I can get out later and clean that little spot of ink off. Maybe need to wipe my hands a little bit. Center of that flower is going to be this dark Gorgeous Grape. It also is not a perfect circle. So let's do the centers here. Like so. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean that off so that I don't stick my finger in it. This is our chamois. It's really, really great for cleaning. Look at all that goopy ink in there. It doesn't come back off. It just stays in there. It's very nice the way it does that. Okay, now I need some leaves, don't I? Okay, so let's close up these inks so I don't accidentally stick my finger or cardstock in them. I'm gonna get out the Granny Apple Green. Gonna give it a really bright ink. And these little baby leaves are gonna go here. One there, and one here, and oh, I'm looking at the front. Let's do this one here. One here, one here, one, two. These seem a little brighter than my original, so I might have done a stamp off in the original one. I'm not sure. Not sure. Okay, let's see. Let's do this. Give. Okay. I am going to stamp off a little bit here. See if I like that better. Put one here, a leaf there. All right, I think that's all for the little leaves. And I'm just gonna wipe that off. You do wanna be careful when you're cleaning your stamps that you don't rub really hard. I see a lot of people doing that. In my experience, that can create a very nasty, muddy spray that goes all over your nearby cardstock and work surface and everything else. So, gonna stamp off because I just want to see if I can do this a little lighter. Another one there, and let's put some here. One, two. All right, I think that's good. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of my way now. Go ahead and clean this off. Just kind of a little press and twist, and oh, I'm sorry, it does make the camera shake like crazy. Okay, now I am going to get my Big Shot out, and I really try hard not to do a whole lot of Big Shot in front of you because it shakes so badly. But I'm going to do this one so that you can see how I did this. So now I'm taking this image that I've stamped for the front and just going to put it in. This is the, I believe it's called textile embossing folder. And I'm using this blue plate because that was the filler plate when Stampin' Up! Started to introduce the new style embossing folders that were not quite as thick as the old ones. So here's one. Look how cool that turns out. And I thought the inside, well, it would be really nice to do the inside too. I'm going to try to get rid of this little yellow splotch. This is a sand eraser. It's made by Mono, which is the same people who make the Tombow liquid glue. That is my glue of choice all the time. We do have the liquid glue in our catalog. You can find this sand eraser probably on Amazon, or you could probably go directly to a Tombow website. But look at that. It's just going to erase. It just sands off the surface of the paper just enough to remove that ink splotch. One of my customers had that one time and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Okay, you see what I'm doing here? I'm taking my fingernails and I'm just kind of pushing those edges back out because I flipped the paper over because I had a big old blob. And when you cut on the paper trimmer, the back side tends to have more of a raw edge sticking up, and since I didn't want that, I just take my fingernail to fix it. And you notice I also put the embossing folder in hinge first. That is to help protect the folder from damage. All right, enough shaking. Okay, pop that out, and this is what we have. All right, now this is Purple Posy, and I am going to use my liquid Tombow. And normally I would say, you know, you just stick to the outer edges, but because of all the embossing, I usually like to put a little more in the center. Okay, if you hang on to it with one hand, get your middle fingers underneath it, then you have a chance to move it or reposition it if it's not quite straight. Got glue on my finger. All right, I know this video is getting a little long and I apologize, but it is the only way. It was even longer Saturday. Saturday it was 3 hours, but we had a little more interaction going on. We did some prize drawings and we had some question and answer time. Get off there. So once again here, I just wanted to step up the inside a little bit. And so to do that, I glued all the layers. Normally I probably would not glue this many layers to the inside, but I just thought it made such a wow impact. So this is Highland Heather. So the colors in order here are Whisper White, Purple Posy, Highland Heather, Gorgeous Grape. Right, that's going to go on my inside, and I learned the last time it's much easier to get my outside done first. Okay, I'm going to bring some dimensionals in, and I'm going to put those. I tend to be pretty generous with my dimensionals because, oh, I just don't want to have put all that effort into this gorgeous card and then have it get one saggy spot. So I'm pretty generous. This is the white ribbon I'm using, and this comes from the Flowers for Every Season. It's a ribbon combo pack. You get 3 different ribbons together with it. So that is something you can look for in your catalog. I'm going to go ahead and tie this. I'm going to bring that ribbon down. It's going to cover up where my flower didn't turn out real well. I can scoot it down here. Okay, I've got one side